This next episode from our vault is from episode 152, where Judy Gaman talks about how to stay youthful in retirement. Enjoy! Welcome back to the Rock Your Retirement Show. I'm your host, Kathy Klein, and today we're talking about the fountain of youth, which surprisingly is gut health. I know it's a weird topic for me too, but for me, when my tummy isn't acting right, my whole day is off, and I know that toxins building up in my body are probably making me age faster, both in the way that I feel, but also in the way that I look. I'm not sure which is more important there. So if you want to know the secret of youth and how to make some small changes that will help you live longer and look younger, then stick around for our next guest, who's actually been on the show before. Judy Gaman is a very successful radio show host, and her show is called The Staying Young Show. She is also a published author with books like Age to Perfection, Stay Young, and her newest book is called Love, Life, and Lucille. And I'll bring her on in a minute. But before we start, I wanted to tell you that this episode is brought to you by the Medicare Quick Step-by-Step Guide for signing up for Medicare. If you are signing up for Medicare for the very first time, you already know how confusing this can be. And the step-by-step guide is absolutely free and will help you easily make the transition into Medicare. Get it free. You don't even have to put in your email address at medicarequick.com/checklist. Okay, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Judy, thank you so much for coming back.
It was my pleasure to be on the show. You're such a great host that, of course I had to come back.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat trying to find out what's going on in my gut and how that can make me stay, younger.
Well, this is a great problem that we have in our society right now, and that is a lot of our diets, the processed carbohydrates, the artificial sweeteners, all the things we're consuming have really wreaked havoc on our gut microbiome. And when I say gut microbiome, I'm talking about the little bacteria that live in your gut. Now, we need to have some good bacteria, but we have an overgrowth of the bad bacteria. And so finding a way to balance the bacteria in your gut actually gives you better overall health.
Now, did you just say that artificial sweeteners are bad? I thought it was just sugar that was bad.
Well, both are bad, but let me explain. Artificial sweeteners will actually kill off your good bacteria. The regular sugars are not good for you either in excess, and that is because they feed the bad bacteria. So you'll get an overgrowth of the bad bacteria. So it's kind of like two different things going on, but we have to pay attention to these things because our gut and the gut microbiome actually is connected to every other aspect of our body. Think about ourselves as an organism. We're really made up of a bunch of tiny little microorganisms, and the health of those microorganisms actually reflect the health of our overall organism.
So, oh man, you just gave me some really bad news. So I can't eat too much sugar and I can't eat too much artificial sweetener either.
Correct. Sweeteners like honey, those are really good. Honey is great in two ways. One, it's a great sweetener and it's natural. But two, if you get local honey, like at your farmer's market, and a lot of the grocery stores just carry local vendors for honey. If you get local honey, and that means within 250 miles of where you live, and you have a teaspoon of that a day, it actually helps you resist allergens. So it's kind of like instead of going to get allergy shots, you're just taking a teaspoon of honey every day and you're building up your own immunity because the bees that pollinate are actually pollinating off the same things that you are allergic to because they're grown in your area. So when you have the honey, you're basically taking in micro amounts of that same thing and building up your own natural immunity.
Wow, but just a teaspoon. So I can't put it on everything.
Not on everything, but if you're thinking, wow, should I dump some artificial sweeteners or should I dump tablespoons of sugar. If you can substitute honey, that's a better option.
I stopped using, I forget the name brand, but the one that comes in the yellow packets.
Yes,
because
I know it well.
Yeah, because I read somewhere. So I don't do the blue because I think that causes brain tumors or something. And so I had switched to the yellow, and then a couple of months ago I stopped using the yellow, and I don't really like stevia, but when I can, I'll use stevia, and I started using stevia in the almond milk that I make every day. So I stopped using the yellow packets, and I started going back to the pink packets, like from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So are those bad too? Like, does that kill off my gut, or does that do something worse?
You need to stay away from all these colored packets. Honestly, there's just so much research upon research showing that it affects in so many ways. One, artificial sweeteners actually cause weight gain, which a lot of people said, I'm going to not gain weight because I want to use artificial sweeteners. Well, now first there was 3 or 4 studies. Now there's 10 studies that show that artificial sweeteners actually cause weight gain because it has to do with the brain chemistry. Well, originally they thought it had to do only with the brain chemistry, but now we're realizing that it actually has a lot to do with the gut microbiome, because if you're killing off your good bacteria in your gut, and your gut actually talks to your brain, and this is some new science that we didn't know even 2-3 years ago, and that is that the two are interconnected. So when you have a die-off or kill-off of the good bacteria in your gut, then you have messed up all the systems in your brain that are telling the rest of your body, including your endocrine system, what to do. And then we get an excess of weight gain. And it sounds so counterintuitive, right? It sounds like, well, if I use an artificial sweetener, I'm going to be better off, but you're not. And you can gain up to 10 pounds. Like if you went from normal sugar to artificial sweeteners, you could gain in excess of 10 pounds a year.
Maybe that's my problem. But okay.
That's what all the women are saying, right? They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to give up that diet soda now.
Right. Well, I don't do a lot of that. And actually I use, I don't know if this is considered artificial or natural. Have you ever heard of erythritol?
No, I don't know that one.
See, there's a...
Is it a sugar alcohol? Or you don't know?
Well, it is and it isn't. It's found on this tree, I guess. It's sort of a replacement. You know what xylitol is, right?
I know what xylitol is. Uh-huh.
Okay, so we were using xylitol for a little while, and then we switched because it's hugely poisonous to dogs. And I was on a cleansing diet, and the book said that I could use erythritol or xylitol. And so I used xylitol during the diet, and then after the diet, I switched over to erythritol. And I don't have the same, I test my urine to see if I have ketones, because I'm actually on a ketogenic diet.
A keto diet. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so I test, and the malitol, the xylitol sometimes, those will both kick me out of ketosis, but the erythritol does not. So I've been doing that. I know you don't know much about it, but I'm sure it's probably bad for you too. Sounds like they all are.
I'll research it and let you know how bad.
Right. It's probably, yeah. Let me know. Post a show note, down and say, yeah, it's actually worse than all of them. It's like the worst thing you can do for your body is no, but actually I like it. It doesn't take that much. I make chocolate every day. Mm-hmm. I use erythritol and stevia. I'm trying to get used to stevia, but I'm one of these people that find it extremely bitter. And so I'm trying to slowly make myself more used to it so I don't feel that bitterness. Okay, so you've talked about gaining weight, but how else do artificial sweeteners in your gut, how does that affect longevity? I mean, I understand gaining weight, none of us want to do that, but what about the rest of it? It seems kind of woo-woo. Your gut is affecting your longevity. That it's a little woo-woo. So try to explain it.
It's not woo-woo. And it's funny you say that because when this research first came out, there was a lot of kind of kickback that to the researchers, the Ivy Leagues, that were saying, hey, there's something going on with the gut. We need to understand. And ironically, even the doctors kind of were like, oh, yeah, whatever. They weren't fully appreciating it. But we've seen a complete 360 with the doctors. They've completely come back around and said, oh, guess what? You're right. It is the gut. We didn't understand this before. And I'll tell you something. It's a little gross, but it's true. And that is that some people actually can get fecal transplants. So you actually get other fecal matter transplanted into your body, and it can correct a whole host of diseases. It can reverse obesity. It can correct just a number of things, even depression. A lot of this has been studied. And I personally would not sign up for it, but a lot of people have some great results. And I think a lot of the things with the microbiome in the gut and some of the other research on, and just staying on the artificial sweetener topic, is really kind of, now we understand it. And what I mean by that is, we noticed that when people that had MS took artificial sweeteners, put it in their tea or whatever. I mean, it's in a lot of toothpaste. It's in almost all the gums, you name it. And when they were ingesting a lot of artificial sweeteners, they were having more flares, and their disease was progressing at an incredible rate. And it wasn't until they started saying, and the neurologists were saying, I'm not sure what the connection is, but let's get all these people off of artificial sweeteners. So the neurologists were taking their patients off of artificial sweeteners, and they saw that they were having a complete turnaround. Well, then take that another step further. They started making sure that these patients had good probiotics and they had good prebiotics. And I'll explain what those two are here in a minute. And they saw even better recovery times and less time in between flares and less progression of the disease. And this wasn't just in MS. This same thing is kind of held true through a number of different diseases and disease states. And it's quite remarkable. Now, let me explain the difference between probiotics and prebiotics.
Yes,
so
please
probiotics,
do.
Yeah. So probiotics are like what we think when we think of like yogurt, or we think of going and taking the probiotics, right? And that is great. That's taking good bacteria and actually putting it into your system so that your guts have it. And prebiotics are actually the food for that bacteria. You got to have both, because you can't just put the microorganisms in your system unless you are going to feed them what they need. So prebiotics are things like asparagus and really good vegetables and things. They need this to feed off of. So any kind of fibrous vegetable is really good for your microorganisms. So you want to take in the microorganisms. Sauerkraut is a great probiotic, and anything that's fermented is really good. And then you get in and you do these prebiotics and you feed that. And you've created what your body needs, an ecosystem, so to speak, within your body for your body to do its job. And its job is to have cell replication and to create energy and all of the things that we take for granted. And when your cells aren't replicating, they're just dying, and they're going to die anyways, but you want them always to build new ones.
Right.
As we age, what happens is we actually have our cells dying, and we don't have any duplications. We don't have any replications. We don't have any new cells coming on to keep us going. And then we start to see the death process. This is where we see the telomeres start shortening, the ends of the chromosomes. And on a cellular level, your body starts to die. And it could, take years, right? But you start that process of aging, and aging isn't necessarily a number. It's really how your body is. It's a state of being. Aging is a state of being. It's really the deterioration on a cellular level.
Now, what's the
that
difference?
That was a mouthful. I hope all of that
it was.
Sense to you.
It was, and I have a question. So we've got three terms here. We've got microbiome, prebiotics, and probiotics. The probiotics are the ones that we always hear about, that's in yogurt and things like that. But I've heard that we'll get back to that. But I've heard that yogurt doesn't really do anything unless you make it yourself.
Okay, I got something to say about yogurt. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Two sentences about it?
Please.
Here's what happened to yogurt. Yogurt is really good if you can get some plain yogurt, right? You don't need the fruit at the bottom. You don't need all these other things. And the reason there's a lot of coming out saying, yogurt isn't what it should be, it's not doing its job, because what they did, and I just cannot believe that they did this, but they did. They took packaged and processed yogurt, they stuck fruit at the bottom, then they said maybe it's not sweet enough. They added a little artificial sweetener, or they added sugar to it outside of the fruit, which is already enough sugar. And then you have now a processed product. You take it and you ingest it, but you basically have done all the bad things with all the good things, and it's a wash.
So that's why I'm being told, because I know that we try to buy the unflavored yogurt, and then my husband will add a little honey to it.
Perfect.
Not too much, but that's kind of how he likes it. But yeah, we've been told that yogurt isn't all it's cracked up to be, because it's like all the bacteria or all the little things that you're eating it for are dead. Is that true?
I wouldn't say necessarily that all the things you're eating it for are dead. That's not necessarily true. But I will say that if you get the packaged and processed stuff and it has been, got preservatives in it and all these other things in it, then you pretty much are defeating the purpose. And how I can tell a lot of times is, and you can tell, is you go there, and if you pick up yogurt and the expiration date's like, I don't know,
2020
weeks from now.
Yeah, 5
right.
years.
Yeah, or 2020.
Right. And for the listener, we're making this episode in 2018. So if you're listening in 2020, that's not for you.
That's right. So if you can kind of tell, by how many ingredients have been put in it. You can tell by, have they added sugar? Have they added artificial sweeteners? If you want fruit in your yogurt, fine. Buy the plain yogurt, buy your fruit, cut it up, and create it yourself. But the whole fruit at the bottom yogurt thing, no.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Okay. Good to know. So basically we have to make all of our own food. All these prepackaged convenience things are really not good for you. We kind of know that. I always
say, they say it's convenient, but it's not convenient when you got to go to the doctor all the time because you got diabetes and
right,
metabolic syndrome and,
Right. That's true. I mean, it's back to basics, right? Cooking like our grandmas did. Right. Okay, so back to my original question that I didn't quite get out. What is the difference between microbiome and pre and probiotics? Is there a difference? Are they the same thing?
Well, the microbiome actually refers to the ecosystem within the gut. The good bacteria, the bad bacteria, kind of what's going on in there. And then as part of that is the probiotics that you're putting into it. Those kind of go into it. It's kind of think of like the rainforest, right? The whole ecosystem of the rainforest. And then think of the probiotics and the prebiotics as you're putting life into that system. So the parrots and all the things that live in the rainforest. You want to feed that system. You got to create that system. You got to keep it healthy, right? And then you need to feed it. And here's the probably most interesting thing is, and it goes back to this convenience factor, that we have become a society that wants it, and we want it now, and we feel that having something instantaneous is the same or equal to something being healthy or good for us. And it's almost quite the contrary. The things that are the best for us sometimes take longer. Or the more complicated for example, on a box or something you buy that you're going to eat, the more ingredients it has, the more complicated it is, the worse it is for you. The more simple it is, the better it is for you.
That makes a lot of sense. But it is hard in today's society to do that. I mean, we're all so busy.
The 4-letter word.
Right.
Busy.
That is true. That is a 4-letter word. So what are some things that people can do to make this style of eating back to the basics, simpler, easier? Like what about those meal plans where they're mailed to you? Do you think those are all processed? I mean, they're usually, I haven't subscribed to one of those, but it seems like they give you the ingredients and you put them together. Would that make it easier?
Yeah. For some people it does, and it really depends on your lifestyle. And this is one of those things where they send you the box of stuff. And if you look at all these things that you're cooking, it's still back to 4 and 5 ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the key. Keep it simple. You're going to pay a little bit more for that kind of convenience, but I would rather see people pay more for that kind of convenience than to
A box.
buy something packaged, processed in a box, right, barcoded. If you are the type of home, maybe you're single or maybe there's 2 or 3 of you in the house, that's a good thing to try and see if that works out for you. Now, they're not all created equal. You want to make sure that you're going with somebody that's using organic and all that. I think that there have been some knockoffs for cheaper prices, and when you get these boxes, who knows where the food came from. So, but there are some that really are. They're certified organic greens and the meats, USDA, prime, grass-fed, whatever.
Now, why does organic matter? I mean, can't I just wash it off?
Well, you can wash and you can rinse, but I'm going to use celery as an example.
Okay.
Because celery is one that people probably don't think they should buy organic. But celery is one of those vegetables, and by the way, celery is a very good prebiotic. It's one of those vegetables that is really hard to grow unless you douse it in pesticides because it gets all kinds of bugs and insects. Now, some people have found how to organically grow it and not have all these pesticides on it. But think about celery when you pull it apart, right? You can kind of see the cellular makeup of celery, the strands and the fibrousness of it. If you're growing something and you're putting chemicals on it, and then that's your end result is that stalk of celery, where do you think those chemicals went? They went into the very being of that. They didn't just go on the outside. It wasn't like they were just sprayed in. Those kind of things pesticides are put into the soil. They're put on top of it. They're all in it. So just because you rinse something off doesn't mean that you're not going to have the effects of a pesticide on the inside. Now, not all organic is pesticide-free either. So you still have to be careful there. But your chances of having a healthier grown food is certified organic.
Okay, that's good to know because it's not just sitting on top of the plant. It's actually going into the plant and then you're eating that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep,
if it kills,
absolutely.
this is what I say, because my husband and I don't use, we don't generally use sprays inside our house. Like bug spray. We'll get a few, and now we are lucky. We live in California, and so we don't have too many bugs. But we will get ants sometimes in our house, and we'll usually just set out an ant trap. We don't spray around. And our reasoning is if it kills a bug, it's poison. If it kills a bug,
right?
It's poison. We actually had a friend who... She had and here in California, where there's not that many bugs. I do understand why people don't want to see a bug in their house, but I don't know. It just people freak out so much about a bug. It's like, oh, there was an ant. Okay.
Call the pesticide company. I've seen an ant.
Exactly.
the one that I killed, and now it's no longer there. So there really isn't one left.
Exactly.
But just in case.
Right. And so my friend started using this pesticide company, and she told me, "Oh yeah, I'm having them spray, and they're coming out every month." And I said, "Are you sure you want to do that? You have a dog." She says, "Oh no, they assured me that this is dog safe." And, I wasn't going to sit there and argue with her, but about 6 months later, she told me that her dog had I don't remember which organ it was. I think it was kidney. It's either kidney or liver problems. and the organs were shutting down. They had to go through this big thing. It was like $5,000. And then she stopped using that company. But, I mean, if it kills a bug, it's dangerous. That's how I look at it.
It's kind of common sense, right?
Yeah, but people are told that it's safe. They're like, oh, this is safe.
Right.
It's safe for your animals. It's safe for you. And I don't know.
Safe for your unborn child. You know, we have a lot of pregnant people that are doing all kinds of things. They're around all kinds of chemicals, and they're around all kinds of, you know, foods they shouldn't be eating, and artificial sweeteners. Whenever I see a pregnant person drinking a Coke, I want to vomit because I just can't believe that they're ingesting it. And take it, and I say that meaning soda in general.
Right.
Take a soda in general and think about the uses that they have for soda. And in some countries, they actually buy canned soda to clean the rust and the grease off of tools in shops.
Right, and we're doing that to our bodies.
And we're putting that in our body. And imagine what that's doing to, you know, your mucous membranes and what's happening inside of your body, you know, whenever... I mean, just imagine your esophagus and your stomach lining and your intestines in general and your kidneys. Your body doesn't need that. That's not how our body was made to you know, take in food and nutrients. And the whole story behind soda is quite interesting, but you know, that's a whole nother show. But
Right. Okay, so I'm the listener, and I'm thinking, you know, basically, I think part of the problem is if we were to eat something or drink something and it immediately gave us a stomach ache, we would probably stop eating or drinking whatever that was. But with a lot of these foods, we're talking it's going to take 30, 40 years before we see the damage, you know, where we personally feel that damage. So it's difficult. And we can't ask the listener to change their entire life. I mean, before Les was diagnosed with cancer, I used to tell him, hey, number one, I wanted to buy organic. And he was like, no, it's a waste of money. You know, it's just a waste of money to buy organic. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing now. And number two, he used to eat so much sugar. And he was like, well, you know, I'm healthy. You know, he's good weight, was very, very, you know, just looked like a runner. And so obviously, I mean, if you've listened to the show before, to the listener, you know that we've cut out sugar. But we haven't cut out everything. You know, we do still use the artificial sweeteners. So what is one change that they can do today that's not going to change their entire life, but one change, one baby step that they can make that can help them live longer and be healthier without going into the cold turkey, I'm going to become a vegan, and I'm going to never eat sugar or whatever, you know, without making that drastic change. What is one change they could make today?
I'm going to give them options, right? They can pick one of the following because everyone has a different thing that might work for them. And it isn't all going to revolve around food. I'm going to give you a few things. Pick one, listeners, just one of these things. It will make a difference. Number one, if you are into artificial sweeteners, just stop using them and look for them in everything, in your gum, in your toothpaste, in your drinks. Just go off of them. I promise you, you will not believe how much better you feel. And that will have an immediate impact. Number two, these are options. They don't have to do all of them. They only have to pick one. Number two, set your sleep schedule and stick to it. Meaning you need to get 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep a night uninterrupted. Make that mandatory. And you will feel so much better. And you also reduce your risk of Alzheimer's and a whole slew of other things. Number three, find a way to exercise. And it doesn't mean you have to buy a gym membership, but do it at least 3 times a week. Stick to it. be dedicated, do 30 minutes a day at least 3 times a week, and do muscle building, strengthening, and flexibility and cardio in that 30 minutes. Number 4, I'm just going to give you 4, and you can pick any of these things. Number 4 is eat 7 servings of fruit and vegetables, not 7 servings of fruit, split it up, maybe 2 of fruit and 5 of vegetables every single day. Because if you can commit to that and actually keep track of that, you won't eat as much of the other stuff because you'll be full. And it's better to say, I'm going to eat this than I'm not going to eat that. Go in a positive direction, do that 7 servings, and you'll be amazed, one, how much better you feel, but also the things you're not eating.
Oh, so I don't have to do all 4 of them right now. Just pick one. And whatever seems probably easiest for you, it would probably be
whatever's
the way to
easiest.
start. Yeah, right. Whatever's
That's
easiest. Okay. Well,
and then it'll become a habit. And then you can pick another one.
Right. So you could pick one for the first 6 months or so until it's a habit, however long it takes you to create a habit, and then pick the second. That is great advice. I know which one I need to do, but man, I'm having a hard time doing that number 3. That number 3 is so hard for me. I do actually. I have a walking desk. You know, I have a treadmill desk.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I do use that. So I don't, but that doesn't do strengthening, and it doesn't do cardio, and it doesn't do flexibility. So, but it is walking. So,
but it is like, hey, at least you're moving, right?
Right. It's better than just sitting there. Now,
moving
what I need to do,
I
need to do this. I need to figure out a way to make the television not work unless it's attached to a treadmill. There's got to,
unplug it.
I know. Well, that is a way. But you know, like if there was a way for me to rig up the TV to where you had to be on you had to be on a treadmill or a bike or something, or it wouldn't work.
Or it doesn't work, right?
Yes.
Make your own energy for it, right?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to make my own energy, but just rig it up to where if there's not something moving, it doesn't work. That would be perfect.
You should invent that little switch and patent it, and I bet you'll make a lot of money.
Right. Or listener, please patent that and send me one for free as your
right.
as payment. And you know, I'm sure it exists. And I know there's TVs that are powered by you walking, but it would just be great if it just wouldn't work. Like there's no way to turn it on unless you are on a cardio. And I can tell you why we haven't done that. It's because those things we like to watch TV in our great room and they're not attractive. You know, it's just not attractive. And right. we even have another room that has those items in it with the TV, and we just don't go in there. So, yes, that is my goal, is to get moving. So, Judy, once again, wonderful discussion with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh,
always a pleasure to be on with you.
Yeah, before we go, you want to tell our listeners about your newest book?
Yeah, so Love, Life, and Lucille we were hoping to be out the end of 18, might be early 19 now, so take a look for that. You can also sign up to hear about when it does come out, when it's launched, when you can get it at judygaman.com. That's JUDYGAMAN, judygaman.com. And that is about my experiences with my best friend who died just shy of her 104th birthday. She taught me some incredible lessons that everyone needs to know.
And based on our last conversation, she sounded like an incredible woman.
Oh, absolutely. Just amazing.
Right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. And to the listeners, we'll see you next time on Rock Your Retirement.